The sounds of the bell, the wind chimes. Happy Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day to all of you beautiful moms out there. Whether it's fur babies or actually born babies, adopted babies. You know, as women, we're naturally nurturers. Not every woman, and there are some men too. I can only speak from my own personal experience. So, I am home in the backyard with a beautiful oak tree behind me. You see this beautiful tree here. Oh, it's a gorgeous day. Satnam, Dave Saru. Happy Mother's Day. I know you have fur babies. So, oh, wow. This came up the other day while I was sitting on my yoga mat. And it was really because I think I've had so much anger that's been arising in me. See, and here the wind is going to support me in this, because that's what the elements do. You feel all of the energy, and it's expressed around us, what's inside of us. And this is really, this is all coming in right now, actually. All of the elements, the earth, the water, the air, the ether. What am I forgetting? Earth, water, fire. Go figure. Fire. What fuels anger? It's fire. And the interesting thing about fire is there's different ways to set it off. Just like there's different ways to bring in the water, there's different ways to bring in the air or the earth or the ether. And we know we're imbalanced when one thing stands out more than another. And that's what contrast is all about. That's what life is all about. If we didn't have contrast, it'd be like saying we're not alive. Look, here's a funny story. All right, I've got some papayas that I took down from the papaya tree the other day. This thing is heavy, and I've got so many papayas producing. Look at this. That's 3. Hold on, there's a 4th one over here. Let's see if I can balance. Maybe I can juggle. 4. They're heavy, but they're turning. Look at that. And they're so sweet. I had one for breakfast this morning. The interesting thing about life, how would I know, other than the fact that these are defined, there's a contrast between me and the papayas, physically, weight-wise, taste, smell, all those different senses that come into play. You can't know what you don't know without something to compare or judge. A lot of times we don't want to use the word judge because it's got that connotation like, you know, it's a bad thing. Judgment's only bad if you are pushing someone away. You're trying to create a separation. You're literally shining somebody for something, and you're imposing your beliefs on them. Discerning and comparing is more of what we do all the time, because what we're doing is we're going, does this resonate with me? Would I go this direction or go that direction? You have to have those contrasts to compare yourself to in life to know, am I on the path? Does this resonate with me? Does this feel good? So when any emotion arises, it doesn't even matter what it is. It's important for you to pay attention. And when anger arises, that's when you need to pay the most attention. Because does anger show you care? That's a question. Answer in the comments. I want to know, does anger show you care? Do you believe anger shows that you care? I believe it does. And here's why. And it goes deeper, because when I was sitting on my mat, I had to actually go, you know, we always say anger shows you care at least. And on the vibrational scale of perceived kinesiology, anger is really low on the scale because it's low vibration. But in order to move up the vibrational scales, the levels, to increase in the direction you really want to go, You got to have something that motivates you and propels you out of that space. And anger will do that because, again, like fire, it's going to burn something out so something else can be replaced. It's going to tear down, destroy so something new can be reborn. And actually think about the word and the element of anger in fire. It's a transformation. It is a death process. So in order to be reborn, something needs to be destroyed. And we don't always pay attention to what's going on with us. And the emotions are always there to serve us to pay more attention. Look, I don't feel good. I'm not happy. I'm in this space of anger. And so when we go back to, does anger show you care? Here's why anger shows you care. Because it shows you exactly what it is number one, a priority, what you care the most about, where your attention is, where your inflexibility is, and where your attachments are. Because what is anger? It's this opportunity to go, nothing's going my way. I don't like this because it's not the way I want it to be. Anger is proof positive, something ain't working, and guess what? That's showing you what it is that doesn't align with you. You can fight it, you can resist it, but how about embracing it? How about going, you know what? I'm not happy with the way things are, so let's harness this. Let's feel through it. Let's actually sit with this. Because that's the hardest thing any of us will ever do in our lives, is to sit with and own the emotion instead of shunning, suppressing, denying it, which will just create more pain and suffering in your life. When we deny this emotion that arises, this anger that comes up within us, all we're doing is denying ourselves. We're denying a part of ourselves. And there is nothing wrong with anger. It's how you direct it, really, if you can use it in a constructive way. Yes, it's going to be destructive. Even if it's destructive in your life, that may be what you need. You may need that opportunity to witness, destruction. I can do better next time. But anger is ultimately setting you up to tear down, break down those old walls. Because with every breakdown comes a breakthrough. And anger is just as much a part of you as joy, love, humility, sadness, grief, whatever it is. Anger is still part of you. It's just showing you the imbalances every single time. When it arises, it's saying, hello, pay attention to me. And when you deny and push it away, all you're doing is holding that off for another day. Because what you don't pay attention to now festers in you, becomes toxic, feeds the fuel of animosity, holds you back in the past with resentment. You can't love with resentment. There is no amount of anger that is going to love you into you. But if you can love your anger within you, if you can embrace that anger and love it too, and the person you are in the moment, as uncomfortable and frustrating as that is, that will bring you closer to love and the joys that you desire to experience in this life. Anger is just another tool in your tool belt, toolbox, your life. It's all navigating you. And to sit with this on my mat, I really went, oh my gosh, you know what? Maybe I too have been, we call it spiritual bypass, negating my own inner anger, because I've had a lot of anger that's been coming up. Hello, this past week, I didn't even realize how upset I was about this being the first year without my mom. And I was like, whoa, waves of emotion are coming up, and I'm recognizing it, and I'm trying to sit with it and go, what can I do with this? All I can do is honor and allow it. But yes, waves of anger, like I can't do anything about it, but I can. What would my mother want me to do? How can I use this anger as fuel to break down the barriers that are keeping me in my joy? How can I express myself in a more loving way toward myself, but also toward the anger that I feel? And the acknowledgement and acceptance of it. Because we're going to heal so much quicker. We're going to move forward so much faster if we can hold on to that anger and go, you know what, I'm going to love you just as much. Because just as much as I can love my anger, I can love my joy. Because if I numb my anger and numb my pain, I'm numbing my joy. I'm numbing all those beautiful experiences I wish to have in this life and already have had or having in this moment. So a couple days ago, I'm sitting on my mat and I'm really like feeling into this anger, and I'm realizing, what if this anger really is my opportunity? And what is it about this situation that it is that I'm so angry over it? And what am I attached to that's causing this anger? And so many different things came up. Because what have we been taught? I can speak for the women. I know for men too that we're taught we're not supposed to show emotion, right? God forbid you get angry. You've lost control, and we don't want any of that. You're supposed to gain and maintain control over your emotions, especially your anger. And women, I don't know about y'all out there. I recall that anger was something to be embarrassed about. Women, we're not supposed to show anger. We're supposed to keep it all together. We're supposed to look all sweet and gentle and kind and loving. And, you know, we're supposed to be the nurturers, so God forbid we get angry. And whether it's our partner or our family members, oh, did you see her? She got upset. And it's like becomes the gossip and everybody's talking about it. You know what? If I see someone get angry, God bless them. Power to them. Celebrate that. Because you're willing to put yourself out there. That takes courage, and it is vulnerability, another form of it, even if you're getting angry. Even if you can't hold it together or find a nice, pretty, neat package, way to deliver it, because everybody expects that, oh, if you're angry, you need to speak a certain way to be calm and, contained. As long as you're not attacking someone and harming someone, you should be okay. But a lot of times that sometimes is how we end up erupting, like a volcano, because we've held on to it too long. We've held it down, we've suppressed it. The more we withhold the opportunity to embrace it and we shove it off to the side, the more it's going to erupt, the more powerful, the more everybody is around you going, oh my gosh, I can't believe you're getting upset. Like they don't want to be around you because they're uncomfortable. And maybe you needed to make them uncomfortable. So, if you get angry, the most important thing I could ever say to you is, where do you feel it? Where do you feel it in your body? Recognize, number one, what is it you're angry about? Notice your attachments or your storyline around whatever it is you're angry about, because believe it or not, there's an opportunity for you to recognize, am I inflexible? Am I too rigid in my thinking? Am I too attached to whatever it is that's causing this anger to come up in me? Next would be, where do you feel it in your body? Okay, so for me, if I feel I haven't spoken my truth or I'm suppressing my voice, for me, anger can end up erupting in this wave of heat, this prickly sensation of my skin around my neck and the back of my neck, my face too. And I just feel extremely heated. And I'm like ready to just take it out. Sometimes it's anger in the pit of my stomach. And it's usually something like, I didn't take care of my own personal needs. So I can end up being angry with myself as a result of someone else overstepping the boundaries that I may not have held. So let's say many of us tend to not be good at holding boundaries or space or saying, oh, don't treat me this way, but yet we treat ourselves the way we don't want to be treated. And so we wonder why it is someone else will treat us that way. Well, the first person we're always getting upset and angry with is ourselves. So all that festering is coming from within. And that projecting out to others is just showing where we're angry with ourselves. If I turn around and I feel that in the pit of my stomach, I feel that in my back, my body is starting to surge, and whatever it is that is causing this anger, I need to sit with it and breathe into those spaces. I need to love myself more and send myself healing in the sense of acceptance and honoring. To hold that space, to be sacredly vulnerable and courageous enough to own it. There's nothing wrong with it. Anger doesn't make you a bad person. Nothing makes you a bad person except for people's attachments to the way they think you should be. And that could be you yourself attaching to your own beliefs of how you should be. So that when you're not acting that way, you're the first person to condemn yourself, to beat yourself up. But where there's conflict, you need to bring compliments. So even when you feel anger, compliment yourself. Give yourself credit for the fact that, hey, look at that. I'm really feeling that. Wow. It doesn't feel comfortable. Boy, I'm grateful I can feel that. Boy, I'm grateful that I'm feeling, period, because that shows I'm alive. And if anger's arising, hello, that just means something big is coming, because you're being served up this tremendous kundalini creative force energy that most people don't even realize. People think, oh, I need to sit in meditation. Oh, I need to have these kundalini awakenings. Oh, I need to have these, my body's supposed to go into shock and convulsions, what have you. Do you know anger is just as much a creative kundalini energy as birth, as death? Because that's what it is. It's creative. It starts moving because something is about to be destroyed and or created. And that is the metamorphosis of life, the transformation, just like butterflies. You don't see it, but the butterfly goes through that experience. And it has to go through a destructive phase to come through and be reborn into a new created phase. Life is not happening to us. It's happening for us, from within us. We get to choose how we respond to it. But I would really highly recommend you start learning how to embrace all of it and not choose those little pieces that feel good. Because if you can't choose it all, then you're not going to be whole. Wholeness is about embracing and taking it all in, because that's all of you. And there is nothing wrong with you that makes you any less or any better than anyone else. Your anger, your joy, your successes and your failures are all a part of that wholeness, that you-ness, that is simply asking, hey, I need you to recognize I am here and I exist. And yes, if anger's arising, it's wanting your attention. It's saying, hello, something's misaligned and I need your help bringing it back into where it needs to be. How can we bring ourselves back to peace with all of our pieces? We're not puzzles. We don't need pieces taken out or pieces put in. We need to just take it all in, bring it together, and allow and accept it as it is. Whew. So mother wounds, yes. There's a lot of mother wounds. And with this being Mother's Day, a lot of what I can speak for myself, a lot of what's come up over the past months with my mom passing has been that opportunity as now a matriarch, the matriarch that she left behind. I am now the oldest in her line on my side of the family. And so when you look at the loss of a mother is something that you can only know if you've experienced it. And sometimes that doesn't mean death had to happen. Maybe your mother left you. Maybe you never knew your mother. That's still a loss. And that needs to be honored and appreciated and revered just as much as one who had the best mom or didn't have a decent mom. I mean, because really, they're only doing the best they can with what they have. And even if they were the worst mom on the planet, the most destructive, most abusive, it was only out of fear. They didn't even know what they were doing. It's easier sometimes to act out and react to the inner turmoil than to embrace it and say, I'm going to do better because I recognize this. Sometimes it's more where the person's at. Doesn't make anybody better or worse. So those mother wounds, that what we're trying to heal as a collective is all about us recognizing the mother, period. The mother within each of us. And that includes you men out there. Because it's too easy to turn around and go, oh, it's Mother's Day. Oh, we need to be... And I just want to say this is slightly passive aggressive. I saw something on someone's page or somewhere out there in social media land about recognizing the dads who are just like mothers. Now, we have Father's Day for that, people. I'm just saying. Women barely have any days as it is, and when something comes up, it just seems like it's so easy to wash women aside and say, now we're talking about multi-genders. Like we didn't have enough problems. And that's a little bit of an anger in a lot of women. And I know a lot of women aren't going to open up their mouths and express this. But how many of you women out there also get annoyed that it's been hard enough for women to gain some because you can never fully, equal rights across the board, whether it be gender, race-related, culture, wherever you're from, or skin, race, etc., etc. It really boils down to, as women, we want to just be revered and cherished for us and what we contribute and what we bring. Because men and women, or if you're gender binary and neutral and all that other stuff, it really boils down to we all want to be accepted across the board for us as we are individually. But on feminine and masculine levels, we bring different things to the table. So whether you're more feminine or more masculine, it doesn't matter if you're male, female, or anything else. You bring something to the table that should be revered, cherished, and honored. And as women, it's been really easy to just sweep us under the rug because, well, we've allowed it, first off, is the biggest problem. We've even talked other people out of even speaking up for women because, we're just expected to take the brunt of things, or we're just expected to sacrifice, because we're not even seen as sacrificing anymore because we're not held as sacred. This is why so much of the divine feminine women in general have been just getting pissed off and angry. And if you hear about the different archetypes, it's been, it's like Medusa. Don't even look at her. She's just had it. Why there's huge shifts in where women are just saying, I've had enough. They won't put up with anything. Because it takes that anger to push us in that direction, right, ladies? As I speak just as a woman. And so when a woman has tolerated only so much and she just has had it, she can use that and harness it in a way that supports her, or maybe she has to burn and create like that firewalk in order to pave the way to where she's meant to be. Don't be fearful of women who get angry, men. Men, if you are around a woman who gets angry, you should be celebrating your woman, that she, number one, is human. Number two, she is speaking her truth. She trusts you enough to share what she's angry about, because that's the biggest thing. It's hard for us women to find partners or friends other than our close girlfriends who will support and just listen. A lot of times, and ladies, you can chime in on this, if we share with people and they're close friends and they're our loyal buddies, they don't necessarily hear what we're saying. They're just ready to be loyal and just kind of buddy up and say, yeah, I'm going to kick their butt just because they're upsetting you or whatever the scenario that she may be upset about. Don't do that if you can help it. Listen intently and be a true friend and just listen. Sometimes we don't need someone to say they're going to stand up for us. We're just doing it for ourselves. And notice that often for women is we just want to be seen and heard, and that's the bottom line. It's not that we need someone to step in and save the day, although we do need that. There's quite a few times in our lives where we just want someone to be present with us. Giving the gift of presence, people, will reduce the amount of anger and resentment in the world so much more than trying to solve or fix people. And that brings up another thing that makes me extremely angry. Is people who feel uncomfortable instead of recognizing their discomfort is what they're focused on when they're around someone who makes them feel uncomfortable. So if I'm angry and someone feels uncomfortable, they try to fix me because they're uncomfortable, not because they think that they don't think of me. They're not thinking of me. They're thinking of their own discomfort. So let me rephrase that again. If I'm angry and I'm getting upset and a friend of mine is next to me and they're kind of like, ooh, I don't know, I can't handle this. Their discomfort is ruling their actions. That has nothing to do with me. Clearly, I'm rubbing them, making them feel uncomfortable. That is an opportunity for the other person. And I want you all, whichever seat you sit in, whether you're the friend who gets uncomfortable because of the anger in your other friend, or you're the person with the anger. This can be tripping people up left and right. And it's one of the biggest causes of misunderstanding in friendships and relationships, is just assuming that your discomfort has anything to do with that other person. Has nothing to do with them. If that person's getting angry, try to silence your mind, get out of your own shit. Because if you're uncomfortable, then you need to step away and ask yourself, what is that making me uncomfortable about in me? What is that telling me? What is going on with me? That anger has nothing to do with you. All it did was it rubbed you, it triggered you. And so if you go to reach out and try to fix or solve this other person that's angry, you're projecting your own stuff back on them. Or how about this, people? You get upset, you're angry, and someone wants to touch you, console you. Not always appropriate, by the way. Tell you it's okay, stop. Again, that's another example of projection and trying to make you feel like, oh, you shouldn't feel that way because I'm feeling uncomfortable that you feel that way. These are huge things I just wanted to bring to attention because I know for me, there are little things that do bother me. It also bothers me, little anger things that have come up for me lately, that I didn't get this in the freezer longer. This is a coffee drink. One of my coffee kombucha elixirs. It bothers me when I don't get all my things done that I anticipate and want to get done. I get upset with myself. I get angered with myself because I try to do too much in a short amount of time. I overcommit, and if I underdeliver, I beat myself up from the inside out. That's a great example of anger within and how it rises. I have so many things I want to do in this life, and sometimes I get really pissed off that I'm not where I want to be in this moment. Another example. That anger is all about not being where I believe my belief system tells me I should be. That's all created in my mind. That anger doesn't even exist. It's all up in my mind. And it's because I'm attached to thinking I need to be somewhere that I'm not in the moment instead of being present in the moment and grateful for what I have. So the biggest cause of anger within most of us, all of us probably, is we're comparing. in our heads, and anger only arises up here because we're stuck up in here. The only reason we feel it in our body is because it's our soul screaming, you need to give me attention. You've suppressed it enough. If it's a repeated anger, when it's in your physical body, that anger is basically telling you, you've shoved it down enough. Stop. Go within and focus on it. Breathe into those spaces, because when we get angry, what happens? We have shallow breathing. What does that tell you about your life? If your breath is shallow, you're living a shallow life, right? If you're suffocating, you're not breathing at all, because when we're angry, we tend to stop, or we hold it, or we seize it, we hold it against ourselves. We're not living our lives. We're so caught up in the stuck moment, our breath is even stuck. So we're not going to move forward. We can't go anywhere else but here. So you just need to become present. Come back to the moment. It's all that exists. And it's easy to say that, but try sitting in silence, listening to the sound of your breath, and just notice what's going on around you. Really be present. That is the gift of the moment, is being present. Anger for me has been the biggest teacher, has been a great motivator. When I have been the most upset, and I have said, basically, the buck stops here, excuse my French, fuck this shit, I'm moving forward, I'm done with this. That's when I've seen the biggest movement, the biggest shifts in my life. And it's not always been pretty. Perfection is a dis-ease, but I'm still recovering. And it really boils down to, how badly do I want to feel this way? I don't want to feel angry all my life. And I certainly don't want to live in this space. So the more I'm willing to sit with it when it does arise, the less it's going to arise, the less it's going to keep creeping up on me. Surprise, surprise. Not really. It's not a surprise, because it's festering and it's always there with you. And until you give it your full attention, it's going to continue to shoot on up, just like that lightning bolt. It's going to be like that volcano, and it's going to erupt. And you don't want to take that out on anybody else. Sit with it on your mat. Sit with it in nature. Nature's quite forgiving, by the way. She doesn't hold any grudges. She's more than willing. Go stomp your feet in the earth and let Mother Earth take it from you. Take all that anger. You know what? I'm going to talk to Carol over here. So, hard being in spiritual circles to navigate being a personally powerful person. So, the last weekend I was together with my Authentic Relationships Level 2 class was when I learned of, it's a polarity, a powerful phrase, and I've been told all my life that I'm intense, and oh my gosh, Lana, I have been told I should calm down, I should be kinder, I should be this, I should be that, basically to suppress my beingness, that I've got a very potent presence, and that people feel me when I walk in a room. People tell me how, when I was in high school, you looked really intense. I was afraid to approach you because you looked so serious. And I don't doubt that, because if you ever met my mom, she was a very intense woman. And I know I carried on a lot of that, carried it over. We are reflections of our parents. And when you are powerful, it's about harnessing that in a way that uplifts others, to support them, not to, we're not here to oppress. We're as powerful individuals, as strong personalities, or it really isn't the personality, although the personality is an expression of the soul. Um, we're here so that others can feel their own potency, their own powerful energy. And if a person is feeling intimidated by our presence, it's only because of something in them, something in their past, they weren't allowed to own, they weren't allowed to embrace as being an aspect of themselves. So as a powerful individual, the best I can offer to anybody who feels less than around somebody who they feel, oh, they're so powerful, oh, I have to, I can't look at them, or I have to get away from them, or they make me feel uncomfortable. In every case, whether you admire it or you're denying and shunning it, it's still an aspect of yourself. Something needed to be integrated into your beingness. All of it needs to be integrated. That's why I'm talking about anger, because it seems like that's the most potent energy out there today. I don't know. I've been feeling it, so I can't imagine that I'm the only one. So some other things I just want to just pay attention to your anger, where you feel it in your body. I have to pull out my notes because I really was thinking about this, and I wrote a lot about this. I'll have to type it up for y'all. When we're taught we're not supposed to show emotion, all that's doing is keeping us smaller. And anger is something that is showing us that we're not aligned with our heart and soul. That we can't trust ourselves. We've trusted someone else. And when we trust someone else, we give away our personal power. And that's something we all need to own and pull back in. And as women, to heal the mother wound, to heal the legacy for all of us women, the most important thing we'll ever do is to step into that role of personal power and just be, allow it. It's the most powerful thing. I wrote in my article in the Medium about how women, we can heal the world. But we need to revere one another, cherish and honor one another just as much. And that's overall. And that's a healing we need to do for ourselves. We need to do for other women. We need to do for men as well. Because one of the other problems out there is there's a lot of anger in men. There's a lot of anger toward women from men who feel emasculated, who feel they feel women have taken away their attention, when in reality it never has. It's just maybe the lack of understanding, because that's the biggest problem that we have in the male and the female roles. It really boils down to we're not communicating. We're assuming and projecting. And until we're willing to sit down and communicate properly, there's going to continue to be resentment and stress and misunderstandings and complications in relationships. How many of you out there are like in the process of a divorce? Or separating, or moving away from a relationship that you've been in for a very long time? And some of the questions I have for people that have been in those types of relationships where you put up with it for so long, one of the questions I've had to sit with for myself, if you're moving out of an old relationship, is it because of the other person and how they were mistreating you? Or can you go deeper and see the mistreatment was starting with you toward yourself, that drew that other person into your life to teach you what it is you weren't seeing that you were doing to you? Now, hopefully this resonates with some people. I know for myself, I was in relationships where I had to recognize, wow, this is not who I am. That person is resembling someone from my role model years. Like my mom and my dad had a very eruptive, volcanic Well, they're both fire signs, right? Sagittarius, okay, I'm just going to say. Very explosive energy between the two of them. A lot of their wounds brought them together. And as a result, I witnessed certain behaviors that I started playing out in my life. And how was I able to recognize that? But to see myself as a witness going, whoa, that's not how I would normally behave. And why is this other person reacting to me this way? Until I was able to sit with it and go, oh, I see the pattern. And it's because I've created this story dialogue in my mind that's created me as my mom and attracted this partner like my dad. Recapitulating an old story from way back when I was a child. I had to shake myself like go, what the heck was that all about? And I was literally like, oh, no. That's icky, that's gross, and I'm done with that. I had to get angry about it because I was mad that I had allowed myself to fall into something that wasn't even resonating, wasn't even who I was. So as a result, I started on my healing path. I decided I'm done with being a victim because I'm not a victim. And I'm done attracting people in that are going to treat me the way I was treating myself. And I spent years single just to work on that, just to recognize what is it I'm doing to me that is giving these other people this idea and this permission to treat me that same way. That takes some serious courage and like looking at your shit. So the biggest thing is most of us don't know how to express our anger because we weren't taught, first, that it was okay to be angry, and second, how can I channel this? How can I utilize this anger as my fuel, my motivator? Most people get so caught up in their anger, they can't even see beyond the flames because they're so engulfed, literally, in flames of anger. You got to do whatever you got to do to get the hell out of it. And if you got to go through an eruption that means you're embarrassing yourself and screaming around your neighborhood and your neighbors are going, what the heck's wrong with that? Who cares? Don't worry about what other people think about you. Because in the end, all that matters is what you think about yourself. And if you get angry at yourself for behaving a way that you don't want other people to see you, well, here's something I want to share. There's a great quote, and I believe it comes from Cameron Shane of Budokan. The way you do anything is the way you do everything. That means in your house with the doors closed and the windows drawn. If you can't do what you're doing inside your house, outside your house, you need to question where your integrity is. Where does your soul alignment lie? Because if you're doing something behind closed doors you're unwilling to allow others to see, and I'm not really talking about sexual stuff, I'm just talking about, do you extend courtesies and kindness to yourself? Do you treat yourself the way you want other people to treat you when nobody's looking? Think about your voices in your head and how you talk to yourself. That's exactly the same thing as how you do anything. If you speak unkindly to yourself, then chances are you're going to have some whipper, like a little fork tongue, and you might be speaking unkindly toward others. Express yourself authentically. But if you have to police and monitor your every word and your every action and every thought, then you need to take it back and really question how authentic you really are. We talk about authenticity and being real and being raw. But the most important person who needs to pay attention, not anybody around you, but you. Because that's going to give you humility that when a lot of times we'll point a finger at someone else, you got 3 fingers pointing back. If you point a finger and you want to point out someone else's faults and mistakes, first look at your own. Because if we're looking at what someone else is doing, chances are the only reason we recognize what we consider wrong or even right is because of our own stuff. You wouldn't see it if you didn't own it. So you spot it, you got it. And you need to be willing to accept that, and there's nothing wrong with it. Nobody's here to shame you, blame you, criticize, or make you feel guilty. You do enough of that on your own. And the anger portion of it is usually because of that. Because you're doing exactly that. You're beating yourself up for feeling or thinking or speaking a certain way. Until you actually own up and sit with yourself, you can't even know what it is that you're doing or not doing, that you're projecting and putting out into the world. You can be doing all sorts of stuff, but unless you're observing, yes, well, you're the witness, Chad. You are not only the doer, but the witness of the doing, right? Unless you're willing to see what's in your own self, you can't just look at everybody else's stuff, because that's yours too. What you see is just as much how you are. And so the biggest thing is we tend to avoid anger, right? Anger is not something to be avoided. Again, I'm going to go back to every time. Take it in, embrace it, own it, make it sacred, honor it. It's a tool. It's teaching you about yourself. It's exactly what you need in the moment, or it wouldn't be arising. And if it is arising, it's probably because you've pushed it away enough. So be willing to sit with it, because that's all you got to do, is just give it the space, the time, your energy and attention. Because you know what attention is. It's a form of appreciation. The more present we are with ourselves, we can be more present with others. The more patient we can be with ourselves, the more patient we can be with others. If we're constantly trying to run away from ourselves, we're the ones that suffer the most. We can put it on everybody else around us, but the reality is it's all in us. We can't be pointing fingers if we're not willing to go within. Nobody ever does anything to us. We do enough to ourselves. We're all just part of each other's experiences, and we're here to help each other walk home, as they say. But none of us is on the same exact stage level wherever. We're all along the same journey to the same destination, just taking different routes. So never condemn anyone. In fact, again, I'm going to come up with compliment them. Compliment people around you. If you see someone's getting upset, try to find a compliment in it. Wow, good for you. I see you're getting angry. I am that too. You know what? Get angry for me too. Because I got some stuff in me that's probably coming up, and I could use some help. Nothing wrong with it. It's all part of the growing. Yes, Robin. So, again, you want to use it to fuel you. Let anger motivate you. Don't let it suffocate you. That's the bottom line. I literally had to sit with it. I sat on my mat. I realized this isn't about forgiveness and releasing. Because I think that on the spiritual path, it's so easy to go, oh, things are just happening the way they should for a reason. I'm sorry, I'm going to call bullshit on that. Spiritual bullshit. When shit's going wrong, it's real. And you feel it. And the reason it feels real is because you got so much weighing on it, so much riding on that horse, that train, whatever it is you got going, that you're like, this needs to happen this way. I'm not happy. I'm angry. It's not going my way. Be with it and just continue to really confront it. Really, feel it. Go through all the motions that you need to, whatever it is. I'm angry my mom's not alive. I go through stomping moments. I want to scream. I want to beat things up, but all I do is I go and I do some yard work or I take a walk. Because to me, I know I can harness that energy. Sometimes I'm actually in my bed and I don't want to get out of bed. Maybe I'm depressed and I just curl up in the bed and I'm just like, I just want to sleep. Because sometimes that's how I work on me. And, I know she's present and the butterflies keep telling me. but we're human. And that's what you have to remind yourself. And there are the butterflies again. Remind yourself that you're human, and your human emotions need to be honored just as much as your human beingness. This is a temple. Let's not create more dis-ease by suppressing or suffocating in silence, but actually owning and allowing whatever it is that arises to come forth. Because the more you're willing to be with it, the less you're going to have to deal with it in the future. Because whatever you push down will come back up at some point. Thank you. Oh, thank you. That was very sweet, Carol. So, whatever you're doing today, hopefully many of you are able to celebrate this Mother's Day in a happy way. I totally am. My mom's always with me, so I mean, I do really miss her presence, her voice, her consoling, because there's nothing more powerful than the love of a mother, in the sense that it moves mountains. And it's natural for a mother, not all moms, again, I can't speak, there's some out there that haven't been, the best, and it's same with fathers, but the true nature is to nurture. As a woman, I speak from that place of, I want everybody to be happy, whole, healthy, alive, and just enjoying and vibing with life to the point where there is no question that you feel the love that is really here for you to be. And the most important thing you can do to connect with that love is to tap into your breath. It's the one thing for certain. When you wake up in the morning, the breath of your life determines the broadness of your life. So make them deep, make them meaningful, let them invigorate all of your cells, every breath that you take. Allow it to uplift you and just drive you, and let love be that motivator, because that's exactly what your breath is. I love you all so very much. If you were here, I would give you a chocolate, because I made chocolates the week before. I made some with almond butter in them. These are, I do admit this. Even Tommy doesn't know, I know. Sometimes, ladies, we stash some food in the fridge or somewhere in the house because we need things for us, and that's called taking care of yourself. So we take care of everyone else, just make sure you're taking care of yourself too. Don't be the martyr. Don't sacrifice yourself to the point where you're no longer sacred. Because to sacrifice is to make sacred. And if you're not making yourself sacred, you're going to fall short of making others sacred. So the next time someone says, I'm sacrificing, try to find a way. Ooh, the dragonfly's mom too. Find a way to kind of remind the person of whatever it is they're sacrificing, how they're making it sacred. Because that turns the whole emphasis and focus, makes it so much more beautiful, and it's a form of reverence. That you're not sacrificing, which is oftentimes when you hear it in reference, it's, I'm sacrificing. It's a passive-aggressive response to, I'm not getting what I want, you better see what I'm doing kind of mentality. No, true sacrifice is passion, is to make sacred. And the passion, again, can be fueled by anger or any other emotion. So, cheers to all you mummies. I love you all. Let the anger out. Let the tears flow. Whatever arises, just allow it to go. Mwah.